Welcome to our second series of Lessons from a Birth and Baby Business Owner. This is a show where we'll be speaking to those who are in or who have been in the birth and baby business world to ask them questions that you would like to know the answer to on how they got to where they are in business today. My name's Anna LaGrange and I'm one half of Baba Business, the Birth and Baby Business Academy.
And my name is Liz Stanford, and I'm the other half of Baba Business, the community membership for birth and baby business owners. And today we have the absolute pleasure of chatting with the lovely Lorna. So Lorna Phillip is the founder and CEO of Black Mamas Birth Village, the place to be for Black pregnant mamas. Whether it's a safe space to talk, a monthly online and in-person Black birth get-together, or the UK's first online membership guiding Black mamas to be safely through pregnancy, triple award-winning doula Lorna does all of that and more in her mission to make Black birth better. I feel like I need to do a round of applause there because that is quite the amazing introduction, and I can't wait to get into finding more about how that all came to be. So perhaps we start there then, Lorna. So why don't you tell us, why did you start your business? You can go as far back as you like, or as you know, close to the present as you like as well.
First of all, thank you, Liz and Anna, for having me on. I feel very honoured to be here today. And gosh, what an intro. I'm like, is that me? Is that really me? So thank you so much for that intro. Before I launch into it, can I first of all please wish you a happy International Podcast Day.
Oh,
today
thank you.
is International Podcast Day. So
Thank you so much. We are so proud of this podcast. We haven't missed an episode since we started it. So I'm going to take that and pat myself on the back. Thank you, Lorna.
You're welcome. So how did I get started? Well, this actually isn't my first business. What a lot of people don't know is that I had a business that kind of ran alongside this kind of up until the pandemic when it came to mash everything up. And so I actually had a business that was teaching English to international students, not just English courses. They'd come over, I'd place them with one of my host families who would both host and teach them English for 2 weeks or so. Yes, I know, great, right? And then of course then we couldn't have flights, and so that finished. So I became a doula around about 12 years ago. I have literally worked with children and families for well over 30 years now. I started off life as a nursery nurse back in the 80s and worked in nurseries, family centres, that kind of thing. And then I became a deputy manager in a Sure Start programme. And I also delivered infant massage. I know. So I did all these kind of activities with the families. I was the health coordinator. I would look at, breastfeeding, healthy pregnancy, all that stuff. And what really struck me back then was how dissatisfied families were with their birth experiences. So I'd be teaching baby massage, and each week would start, the course, the class, and these moms, because it was all moms, would be like, oh my gosh, my birth was this. I felt let down by the medics. I felt let down by my partner. And I heard about doulas then, not been about 2004 or thereabouts. And I'd heard about doulas. I thought, well, why would somebody want a doula? I'd had 2 kids by then, fairly straightforward pregnancies. And I just thought you kind of, you book yourself in hospital, you check your body over to the midwives, you birthed your baby and you came out, and that was that. And I didn't think about satisfaction in birth or birth experience. But the seed was planted. I'd heard about doulas and I thought, years later I came to train. I wanted to make a difference to people's experiences, because it's not just the there and then, the birth, it's actually afterwards, and how you then go on to bond with your baby, and how life as a family kind of pans out. And I thought, well, I'd love to be able to make a difference so that actually people get a really good start to their parenting and to their life. So I became a doula and I worked in Birmingham and like the East Midlands. I'd go as far as Nottingham, an hour and 20 minutes drive. And I was a very busy doula. Took a while to kind of build up to that busyness. But I became very busy and, I must say quite sought after as a doula. Also hypnobirthing teacher. I say hypnobirthing teacher extraordinaire. So yeah, yeah, and I still
Definitely.
do it now, just a little bit. But then, of course, the pandemic came, and I thought, oh my gosh, that means the end of my birth business. And, people kind of feel a bit funny about you talking about birth and business in the same kind of, sentence or conversation. But it has to be a business, right? Because we have to sustain
Yeah.
ourselves. People think that doulas kind of fart glitter and that we live off fairy dust. No, we have to pay our bills and pay our mortgages and our rent. But yeah, pandemic came and I thought, this is going to be the end of it. This whole, one birth partner policy for many hospital trusts. But no, it became certainly my busiest period. And I was literally on call throughout the whole of the pandemic, whether that be as a birth
Wow.
doula or as a postpartum doula. I worked my socks off. But I came to realize that this is not sustainable. And it's about the time we're hearing about the whole 5 times more and, the
Yeah.
black women and black birthers, dying, 5 times more at risk of dying in the perinatal phase, the time around birth. And I thought, I've got to stop. I can't physically take on any more birth clients. In fact, most of my birth clients were black and brown families. So I sat down with my notebook and my pen. I have so many notebooks, so many notebooks. And I sat down
Me
and I
too.
started to kind of bring together my ideas and post-its, not
Yeah.
A3, but post-its. So yeah, sat down and started writing about how could I serve more black families. I mean, exclusively black and mixed heritage families, but not take on any more births because I couldn't physically do any more births. It just wasn't possible.
Yeah.
And that's where Black Mama's Birth Village was birthed. Actually, the name came up quite quickly because I wanted to be kind of like a village vibe where it was really not a pressurized environment. You came, you sat, you breathed, you listen, you talk, and it's a safe space for you. So that's where it came up. I wanted to just have that space where we could just talk authentically without feeling shut down or without silence, and we could just be our authentic selves. So that's how it came about.
Amazing. What a journey that you've been on. And I remember when the Black Mama's Birth Village, when it first started posting about it on Instagram, I was like, oh yes, this is needed. This is amazing, and Lorna is the perfect person to do it. So, I love all of that, but I want to like bring us back a little bit because I know people listening to this are going to be like, if we're thinking about birth and baby business owners listening to you and wanting to learn from you, they're probably thinking, but Lorna, how did you get so busy? How were you so booked out, especially over the pandemic? Like, was there anything that you think that you did in particular, or anything that you can share with us that might give people an insight into that?
Yeah, I always say when I'm teaching new doulas or mentoring new doulas, make it easy for the client to find you.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed at how many people don't. It's like trying to crawl over barbed wire and through a, I don't know, kind of a ninja move to try and get to the service, right? So make it easy.
Yeah.
And that might mean, that might look like maybe automating some processes. It can be as
Mm.
simple as making sure that your contact form on your website works. You
Yeah.
know, check it monthly, check it every now and again to see it actually works. Check your spam folders because inquiries end up in your spam folder,
True.
right? Nothing worse than checking it and
So
finding that
true.
12
So
people
true.
have
Do you think
been
then
there
most
saying,
of,
yeah, nothing worse than,
yeah, and they've
checking it
already
and
given
finding 12
birth and
inquiries in there.
it, yeah, definitely. Totally agree. So do you think most of your inquiries were coming from people searching, especially over the pandemic? I guess it was, what do people were looking for that support because everything had just gone. So do you think that's what it is? People were heading to Google and just looking, and you must have had good SEO on your website and they were finding you that way.
Yeah, people were heading to Google. I always say have a presence on Google. Make sure that your clients are leaving reviews for you. It's really hard. I know
Yeah.
how hard it is to ask for the review. So again, make it
Yeah.
a kind of systemized process. You've finished your piece of work or you're coming to the end of the piece of work with your clients. Let them know that, hey, I would love for you to give me a review, an honest review. Help me or help
Mm.
other families like you to find
Yeah.
people like me. That's how I used to put it in my email, request a review email. So have a presence on Google for sure. I would say at the beginning of your birth business journey, put some real thought into your business name. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's wonderful
Mm.
having these, beautiful names that I see out there. It's great, but it doesn't always help people to find you. I called
Yeah.
myself Birmingham Doula for a reason, all right? Because when people jump on Google to find a doula, what do they put in? Keywords like find a doula in Birmingham or doula
Yeah.
Birmingham UK doula, those kind of terms. So you may want to be a little bit savvy about what you call yourself. And yes, SEO does matter. I am no expert on the tech, the website building, the SEO, but what I will say is until you have money to outsource those services like website building, SEO, then it would really
Yeah.
pay to do some research for yourself. There's lots of free courses out there, or paid for courses where you can find out about these things. And I now, do that stuff myself. So yeah, it's worth looking out for
Amazing.
those things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's such
great
a journey
advice.
to go on.
Lorna,
It
I'd love
is.
to know because I know a lot of our listeners, they know that they need to get out there and get more visible, and you've talked about some practical things, but when you were building up in that, in those early stages, obviously you had your business, know-how from your previous business, but what kind of did you have mindset blocks and things that got in your way that made you not want to get visible or made you frightened to get out there? And I'm thinking specifically perhaps as well about your membership, like what were your doubts and what could have held you back or has held you back?
And let me tell you now, yes, I had doubts. And let me tell you, I still have those doubts. Still have those
Yeah.
doubts.
We all do.
Still have
Yeah.
those blocks. Still kind of think, oh no, why me, not me, can't do. Um, what I
Mm.
say is if you have a message that you feel is important or a service that you think is really going to make an impact on the life of your
Mm.
clients and their families going forward, we need to almost say, well, look, yes, I've got those blocks. Yes, I'm feeling a bit shy, but our message
Mm.
needs to be heard. And our message is bigger than our shyness or, not wanting to be seen. So we have to get out of our own heads, and do the thing.
Okay, we're back. We just had a little technical hiccup there, but I was just saying to Lorna that, and Lorna was sharing with us how important it is to, really let your purpose be your guiding light and help you to get over those mindset blocks and over those fears. But it got me thinking about your membership. That must have been like such a different, like something that you'd never done before, because it sounds of it that all of your work before had been quite sort of in person and direct contact. So, I love the idea, and it makes a lot of sense doing a sort of like one to many model. Obviously, we're doing something similar ourselves and building, a community. Such communities are such special places. Um, But yeah, tell us a bit about how, what led you into that membership idea beyond the one to many, and what came up for you then as far as mindsets and fears were concerned.
Yes. um, yeah. I was hearing a lot about memberships. We were all encouraged to pivot our business, take stuff online, and that's when we all discovered Zoom. And yeah, so I kind of thought, okay, I need to maybe have a look at the membership model. And I began to consume so much information about memberships online. I mean, everything, I was literally living online and consuming stuff and signing up for free workshops and looking at platforms. I mean, if anyone's thinking of starting their own, I have so much information about the platforms. And so, I started off these little kind of free trials of various platforms, give them a little go, a little whirl. And I bought into a platform, but I was so not tech savvy at all that I bought into it, and it took me almost a year to even start using it and start learning it.
Wow.
But once I did, it really took off. It flew. I love that whole housing everything under one roof. So you've got your content. So it's a lot of kind of I've got video content, downloads, kind of ebooks, that kind of thing.
Mm,
But then also we've got the monthly kind of online get together via Zoom, kind of can host webinars on it, and got the community. So yes, we have a Facebook group for all the Black mamas, and I think we're reaching about 380 in there at the moment. But we
brilliant.
also have an away from Facebook community, which is what I really wanted, because not everyone's on Facebook, first of all.
Yeah.
Plus, we have to think that, gosh, if Facebook goes down tomorrow,
Mm,
what are we going to do if we've got all our eggs in one basket on Facebook? So it's nice to have that alternative that you can offer your clients, as a community. I mean, it's not perfect. People still love Facebook and they love Instagram, but we have somewhere where we can kind of meet and talk without those distractions of Facebook, which is great.
yeah.
And yes, I still have my fears and my doubts. That you kind of, well, I found that I have fears and doubts, and then over time and with some, possibly some mentoring and with some, kind of confidence, you overcome those fears. But then the next set, it's like a game, so that's a wicked, Nintendo game, the next set of fears are kind
Yeah.
of thrown at you, and it's, again, finding your way out of that and through that. So yeah, I was a bit kind of nervous about the online space, but it's worked out really well. Um, and it's then about how we then innovate and create and tweak, with the feedback of the people that we serve. How do we kind of make changes and make sure they're still being served?
Yeah, because the
Definitely.
online space, it changes all the time, doesn't it? Like
Hmm.
especially I think since the pandemic, I mean, Liz and I were both sort of running our businesses online and in person from around 2016, 2017. So we've seen like a big shift in how people interact with social media and membership and group, and how much they want to be online, how much they want to be consuming online. Like it feels like it's almost changing week to week. Excuse me. So you do sort of have to keep up with that a bit, don't you? And keep checking in with your people and what they want, what they're looking for, what they need from you. But I think that's great. And I'm like, well done for putting all that time and effort into finding the right community and the right platform for you. You sounded like you've done, a really good job on that. And I think as well, that whole Facebook, off Facebook, on Facebook, I mean, it's a continuous debate between Liz and I. um, but I think it is smart to have something off Facebook, because
Mm,
the algorithms and I don't know, there's all swings and roundabouts. You could talk about that all day probably, but I think it's very smart to have something that's away from that as well, so there's another place so that if you are, I don't know, banned, or if it goes down, or for all those reasons, you've still got somewhere to connect and have a community with your people. I think that's really important. Yeah, love it.
I
yeah,
will add,
definitely.
though, can I just add, Anna and Liz, that I think it's important also to say that sometimes we can become consumed with the research, researching the platforms, researching this, researching that. that actually it gets in the way of starting the business.
Yeah.
So it's really careful to be mindful that at some stage you're going to have to stop the researching. You've got to accept that things will not be perfect
Yeah.
from the get-go, okay? And you've got to start. Otherwise, you're not getting that message out. You're not doing the serving that your heart has brought you to this place. So we have to say, okay, I've got enough information for now. Let's get going and let's launch.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
definitely.
do you feel into your intuition a lot when it gets to that stage when you sort of know you've done the research and you've done that, because we do have to fall back on that, like you say, that heart-centered stuff, don't we, and kind of be guided by our own intuition.
Do you know, I believe a lot in intuition, but to be perfectly honest, I don't think I lean into it so much when it comes to a lot of business stuff. I think
Mm.
I just got so fed up with myself, so fed up with writing notes about all the platforms and doing comparisons and all that stuff and not getting started, that I just thought, enough. I'm getting sick of myself,
Yeah.
basically. So not so much intuition, but just getting very frustrated with myself.
Yeah, it's scary getting started, it is really scary, but I love how, Lorna, you just keep bringing it back to that purpose and that mission. And that's something that we talk about a lot at Baba when our members are feeling lost in their business, or, like you were procrastinating and doing the research, but not actually doing anything. And just keep tuning in to what you could be doing. Like, what the thing is, we're often afraid of failing, aren't we, of getting it wrong, but if you don't even try, you've failed anyway, so you might as well just go for it and do it and see what happens and try and make the best of it, and keeping in mind all the time that you're serving a bigger purpose. And I know for you, the Black Mama's Birth Village, inspired by the research and the information that we were hearing, back in 2020 and prior to that, but just not as vocally, about Black women being at that time 5 times more likely to die in childbirth and generally in the perinatal period. I mean, if that's not something that's going to drive you forward to make a change and make a difference, then I don't know what is. So it's definitely a good example of really tuning in to what a difference you could be making. So I totally agree with that. And in terms of intuition, I get that as well. I get not tuning into it. I hear the intuition. I'm going la 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 la. I'm going to ignore that. But I was wondering, do you have any kind of like habits or rituals that you do that have helped you to overcome any mindset blocks, but more to like help you be a successful business owner? Is there something that you would like, I have to do this or I have to do that to help me move forward in my business?
I'm not sure I have any rituals as such, but I certainly do place great value in good coaching and good mentoring. For
Yeah.
me, it's really important, and that really helps to drive you forward. And I know for some people who are new to business, they are a little bit wary about making that investment, shall I say,
Yeah.
in good mentoring and good coaching. But it's the best, the best, the best, the best investment that you can make, because sometimes you're so stuck in it, you're so stuck in your head,
Yeah.
um, about business, and it takes somebody who's, a bit removed, who loves you, who is keen to see you succeed. It takes that person, a skilled person or persons, to kind of help move you forward and to encourage you and to sometimes give you a kick up the behind. Yeah, I've had that. I've had that formally, through mentoring stroke coaching, but I've also had that informally through the people that I really value in my life. I mean, one of them being the wonderful Mars Lord,
Yes.
founder of Abuela Doulas. She's not my formal mentor, but we are good friends and we encourage each other. And if you can find, people like that, formally and informally, who believe in you, who believe in your passion and your mission, then wow, it's wonderful.
Oh, definitely. I think that's how me and Anna sort of ended up in business together, was because we kind of became that sort of support for each other in business, because our businesses are so similar. It was so helpful to have somebody else's viewpoint and opinion and suggestions. Like if you get stuck, or you don't, you're like worried or frustrated with something, it's so powerful to hear somebody go, well, I did this. What about that? Have you thought about this? Or, oh yeah, that's happened to me. And to kind of just feel that connection. So those biz besties, that kind of, with that sort of mentoring relationship as well, is really, really important. Can't recommend it enough.
Actually, I must share something. There's one thing yeah, I guess it is a ritual. Now you're talking about rituals and habits. Actually, I do have a couple that I think are really important to share, and they really have impact on your business. Is, you know how we can make 1,001 to-do list? You know that whole to-do list thing. It's just, again, I'm a list maker. I tend to make my list on a Sunday night, so before the working week starts for me. I start work on a Monday. I make a list and I get everything out of my head. It's more of a brain dump than a list. And it's business stuff, it might be personal stuff, like, get the car serviced. I get everything out of my head. And I make a big long list of all the things that I need to be tackling. And then I give each point, each thing on that list, I give it a rating from a 1 to a 3. So a 1 would be something urgent, or something that needs doing fairly quickly, something that will literally move the needle when it comes to your business. 2 is okay, not so important, that can wait for now, get the number ones out of the way first. And 3 is a leave it, dump it, or delegate it. Okay, I have a wonderful VA, and she's great, so I give her the 3s, to be honest, because she's great at those things, and
Yeah.
it just means it gives me more space, more headspace, more energy to focus on the things that are going to move the needle for my business. So if you're a list maker, don't just kind of make a list blindly. Make your list, get it out of your head, but then decide in order of priority what you're going to tackle first.
Brilliant. That is great advice, because I think we're all good at making lists, but are we good at actually doing the things that are on the list? So when you give it a priority, a level of urgency, I think that's, such a good idea. And I really love that you are at that stage of delegation now, because I think that's something else that a lot of people procrastinate about, is like, when do I need the help? Do I want to pay for the help? And, is it, or does my business really warrant me paying somebody for X, Y, and Z? So did that make a difference to your business as well?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a bit of a control freak. I kind of do like to do things for myself, but it becomes impossible when
Mm,
if you start to kind of drop the ball on certain things. If you find you don't have space to plan,
yeah.
people say, "Oh, what's your plan?" What's your plan for this quarter? If you don't have the space or the bandwidth to
Hmm.
do that kind of planning, because you're all about the doing all the other kind of smaller things, and important still, but
Yeah.
they're not going to move you forward, then maybe you need to start looking at getting help, whether that be a VA or whatever it might be, that you can kind of delegate those tasks that are still important. They certainly are important, but they're not the kinds of things that will help you to develop and grow the way you want to. So you'll
Yeah.
see the signs. I think you'll see the signs.
Yeah, I think that's really, really good advice. Seeing the signs. The signs are you've got no time to do anything else. That's one of the biggest signs, definitely. But it makes such a difference, I think, when you get somebody else in your business to do those things.
Yeah. It can be a tricky thing getting the right person, can't it, to start with? But I think once you've found that right person and you've kind of settled in and you've both found your groove, then it is just, I mean, my VA is worth her weight in gold. It's like my biggest fear is that she goes off to do something else. She does other things, but that she, that she decides she no longer wants to work with me. But yeah, it is amazing when you get that right person that they can pick up. I think so often people will perhaps hire someone that's similar to them, who they're going to have a good time with. But for me, it's been about finding someone who can really cover my weaknesses and be good at the things that I'm really bad at, so that they can, they can pick up the slack and kind of get me organized and all those other things that I'm not so good at. And it really is a brilliant thing to do. But I think a lot of people have that fear of handing over stuff that they've done for so long, or say it's social media. Like, how is somebody going to understand my voice? How is someone going to understand my message or understand, what I'm trying to say? So I think any aspect of our business to hand over to somebody else can be quite scary. And I don't think we always get it right to start with either. It takes a little bit of perhaps trialing different ways of doing it before we find the right people or person. Yeah.
And it's okay not to get it right the first time. It's okay, I think she's Teresa is my second VA. The first one was right for that time, and it's okay to have somebody that's right for that time.
Yeah.
And as you develop and grow and move on, maybe they're not so right, and then you kind of have the next person, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And it's really about how clear you are, because oftentimes it's not the VA's fault that it's not going right. It can, it's the business owner's fault if you want to apportion blame. But it's how you are clear with what you want from that person, your expectations, your onboarding, your ongoing relationship. So, if you're looking into having a VA, then those are some of the things you need to have in your mind, really.
Definitely, absolutely. Great advice. And I have had the same VA since I took over the Calm Birth School. So 6 years, and she's wonderful, and I appreciate her a lot. I definitely couldn't do it all myself. So as we come to the end of the conversation, Lorna, and thank you so much for all the wisdom you have imparted upon us so far, but I'm going to ask you for one more bit of advice or wisdom. So what is the one piece of advice that you would give to a birth or baby business owner who wants to create an impactful and sustainable business?
One piece, gosh, that's hard, Liz.
Sorry.
Really difficult. I would say definitely be very clear on your values. What are your personal values? I would say also actually look out for inspiration. Is there anybody within your space, your sphere, your world that is doing the kinds of things, having the impact that you would like to have, doing the kind of work that you would like to do? Who is inspiring you? What are the values that they're putting across when they're visible and on social media? And I would say, reach out to the person. You might want to say something like, gosh, I've been watching your work, I've been following you, I love what you do. Can I take you for lunch?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Right? Can I take you for lunch? But listen, make sure you pay for their lunch, right?
No 50-50. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can gain inspiration that way. You can learn, if they're willing to share, and most people are, about their journey and what kinds of things have really helped propel them forward and what kind of things have actually got in the way. You can learn a lot from speaking to somebody who's already in the space that you would like to be in. So don't be afraid to reach out. And it hasn't got to be, if you're a hypnobirthing teacher, it hasn't got to be another hypnobirthing teacher. It could just be somebody that you admire and who has this, similar values to what you have. Reach out to them and talk and ask questions and take them for lunch.
Yeah, definitely. It works. I did that for years in my first business. I used to take a local pregnancy yoga teacher out for lunch it was only maybe once every 5 or 6 months, but to sort of stay connected, stay in touch. I really appreciated how she would talk about my business to her clients. And she had a lot more experience and wisdom than I did. So yeah, I would drive over to Moseley, take her out for lunch, and we'd enjoy the experience. And I got to learn and grow, and she was just a lovely person.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so important, that networking and building relationships, because if you don't have that in your business, it can be a really lonely place running a business. Even when you're working with families, the business side of it can be quite isolating, and that reaching out and making connections is it's just what, for me, it's what makes it fun, but it's
Yeah.
also what's going to help grow your business and, like you say, give you ideas, inspiration, and they're going to be your biggest champions as well. So yeah, so important to get out there and to meet people, make connections. Oh, thanks so much, Lorna. It's been really great
Yeah.
talking to you today. We've loved our conversation with you. I love everything that you're doing. And for people who are listening or watching, we'd love to hear your comments. So please review or subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or come and have a chat with us about this episode on social media. And Lorna, do you want to let people know where they can find you? And we'll make sure we put it in the show notes as well.
Sure, you can find me on Instagram at black_birth_mamas, MAMAS_birth_village, Black Mamas Birth Village with underscores in between. That's the best place to find me. Or you can link me on LinkedIn. If you just put Lorna Phillip Birth Village, you'll find me on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Lorna. Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
for asking me. Happy International Podcasting Day.